Coming up in today's program, sculpting in Madagascar, painting against all odds in Gaza, and fighting for balance in China. But first, Arts World visits Colombia to get an insider's perspective on the country's art scene.
Hello and welcome to Arts World. My name is Maria Marquez and I am a television presenter here in Bogota. We are now in La Candelaria, a downtown barrio, where as in so many centers in the world, art happens. El Colegio del Cuerpo, the Body School, is a dance project based in Cartagena, a city that embodies painful contrasts.
One day a friend invited me to a cultural fair at our local newspaper. There I saw a contemporary dance company directed by Álvaro Restrepo. When I saw them on stage, I had a revelation. Perhaps this is what I am, and what I have been all my life.
8, 1, 2, 3.
Well, I'm Álvaro Restrepo, dancer, choreographer, and educator. I'm also founder and director of El Colegio del Cuerpo, the Body School in Cartagena de Indias. The students at the Body School are mostly young kids from Cartagena, who come from the deeper Cartagena. There are youth who have made up their minds to live this way, to take this path for their personal and professional fulfillment.
Those kids who have the talent and the desire will find an opportunity here to take on a trade, to find an artistic life and a career, and to change their life conditions.
Cartagena is a city with many social spheres, levels, and contrasts.
Today, there are 1 million inhabitants in Cartagena. We hear that 70% of the population is living under the poverty line. This means 700,000 people are living in very precarious situations. The Body School is my response to our country's situation. It is also a way of proposing a new vision of education, of the joy of discovering a vocation at an early age and learning how to associate discipline with pleasure.
I realized there was an opportunity for me to become a professional dancer. Finding the chance to open this window made me aware that there are no limits, that things may happen, and you just need an opportunity to access this.
Something that struck my attention about the Body School was precisely the body. Everything was focused on thinking about the body as a heritage, as the place where life occurs, as a notion of wealth. I like this very much about the Body School.
I think this work is about being, about one's own body. When a person is conscious that the body is a phenomenal instrument, the body itself is the key to go beyond.
To gain the capacity to understand that being creative refers not only to the dance studio, but also to his life. To search for creative solutions to change his own life by himself.
For me, the encounter and the aperture I was given at the Body School have been really marvelous, because I have evidently become a citizen of the world, not just local, not partial or discriminating. Quite the opposite. I sort of realized the world is for everyone.
Now I am the owner of my reality, and it's like taking over the world. It's an invaluable security. These are things you cannot ponder or measure. These things are experienced, felt. So it's like a self-acknowledgement of possibilities and qualities I didn't know I had.
Now I am a multiplier of this experience, perhaps capturing other youths like I was captured at some points, and offering them an option for professional and human fulfillment through dance.
Here, we are fundamentally sculpting an individual, but we are also sculpting a society. We are speaking of the individual body, but of course, of an individual who is immersed in society. So we speak of the social body.
Life as we know it today was also once a dream, no? So it is fair to keep dreaming of a different society, with a different human being.
On the other side of the world, in Madagascar, an artist is doing his bit to beautify his hometown.
My name is Ratsamanana Anjane. I've been living in Antananarivo for 47 years and I'm a sculptor and a painter. The city of Antananarivo is right in the middle of the island. It's a melting pot for all of Madagascar. Tana, that's what we call it for short, is beautiful. It has everything that can be seen in Madagascar. Big buildings, forestry, rice paddies and rivers. Sometimes that diversity creates a conflict, each competing for space. The island, my home, is one of the poorest countries in the world. The government cannot manage the poverty in the city. People come here from the country with nothing, and the government does nothing for them. This tunnel used to be filled with homeless people. Every night they slept here and walked down to the market to sell what they had in the morning. The government said they wanted to clean it up, so they asked me to design something to make it more beautiful. They put in lights and now no one sleeps here. My work represents the people who used to sleep here. Many of them have since managed to get themselves off the streets. But it's not because of me or the government. They've done it themselves. If they have one thing to sell, they try and try until it sells. Sometimes I feel that what I do, my craft and my talent, has been used to hide what is wrong in this city. The tunnel was no good and needs to be rebuilt, but the government would rather I just try and make it look better, rather than spending money on real infrastructure. I like sculpture because of its volume. I learnt it by myself, looking at my own portrait in the mirror. I thought it was very interesting and it became my passion. The most exciting sculptures are those which make the people cry. I recently made a portrait of Rad. He's a poet who died recently, and his family all cried. I have made 400 sculptures for the government. Maybe only 6 are displayed in the open air for the people, but many of my personal works can be found on display around the city. The works made for the government are representative of the people, not our politicians. I made one that sits at the heart of the city to highlight the problem of AIDS. I think it's a hopeful piece. In Tana, art is considered a huge thing. Artists are important people here. As I see it, we should make as much art and crafts as we can. This project is my contribution for poor people. I started it in 2005. I started working with deaf children, children who can't hear and who can't talk. They all had 1 month of arts training. All of them learnt a skill, and I realized then some of them really could become artists. I moved here and called on my neighbors to help contribute to women and poor people who wanted to become artists. I gave them all the materials they needed. Then, when I saw their work and saw what they did, I applied for permission from the authorities to sell their products in the town center. So we got lots of money from that time. After that, more people came. Women came with their children. 2 of them were at university and helped me extend this project. Last year, I had 92 children who were educated throughout the year. They're here now. They can go to school and learn art at the same time. The education I give doesn't teach them to become an artist. We just promote the talent they have inside. Then they will produce something of value for themselves and go on along with confidence afterwards.
From Madagascar to Gazi. After the break, we are going to visit 2 artists who refuse to stop creating. Don't go away. Welcome back to Art World. I'm here in La Concordia in a traditional market. This peaceful neighborhood has been a favorite place for artists. Unfortunately, not everyone is lucky enough to have this. On the other side of the world, 2 artists in Gazi are not only living in a war zone, they also struggle to get materials and equipment.
The atmosphere in Gaza is not easy for artists. It is difficult to be an artist here. It was always hard to afford the raw materials needed for painting.
For Basil al-Maghouzi, one of dozens of struggling painters on this war-torn coast, life in Gaza is both brutal and an inspiration. In 2009, when the Israeli army bombed much of his home, he turned its charred walls into a canvas.
My paintings were stored here. I am like many artists who use their bedrooms as their studio. My storage space for the paintings was underneath my mattress.
Some of Basil's oil paintings were saved by the mattress. Some were not. He continues to live and work in the remains of his home by the sea.
During the war, I imagined how the rockets were being shot from our side. Here is what I saw. The effects of the Israeli rockets when they land, how they destroy the place completely. The bombing in our neighborhood and the other neighborhoods I saw when we fled.
Painters in Gaza cannot earn a living through their art. So, in this refugee school close to his home, Basil teaches hearing-impaired children his craft. 11-year-old Ikhlas Ahmad is one of his most enthusiastic students.
What do you like to draw? She likes cats and likes to draw cats. She has a cat at home.
Ikhlas finds a rare space to reflect on her world in Basil's art class. Gaza has no school of fine arts, so the rare artist, trained abroad like sculptor Iyad Sabagh, teaches art at a university.
Gaza is a very happening place. It's a rich canvas for any artist. Events here provide a rich variety of subjects for art. Gaza has been destroyed many times. It's always been a passageway for conflict because it was considered the entry point into Greater Syria. We are almost used to Gaza being destroyed. If geologists start digging here, they would find remains of amazing civilizations. After the Israeli withdrawal in 1994, when the Palestinian Authority came, there was a rebirth for Gaza, with rebuilding and a role for the arts.
Iyad was commissioned to create 5 public works of sculpture, each reflecting a different aspect of Gaza's identity. The most enduring has been his tribute to a figure from the forerunner of Palestinian culture, the Canaanite phoenix.
This Gaza that over and over again is destroyed and reconstructed, it reminds me of the Canaanite legend of the phoenix, which is a bird representative of the Canaanite civilization. In old age, the phoenix gathers sandalwood and incense and incinerates himself. After his ashes fall to the ground, a new bird is born from the ashes. It's a rebirth.
3 of Iyad's 5 public monuments were destroyed amidst Gaza's civil strife. by men opposed to the government which commissioned it.
The unknown soldier was destroyed. The sculpture in Italy Square here in the city was smashed to bits. The one in Rafah was burnt.
The blockade of Gaza has made the most basic sculpting materials, wood, metal and stone, difficult to find. Still, he delights in telling the tales of his sculptures.
This is about the relationship between Anat and Baal, who is of course represented as a bull, and Anat is a beautiful female, the all-powerful goddess of war in Canaanite tradition, and he is the god of fertility and bounty. They are siblings and lovers. The statue is a tribute to the ancient folklore, which immortalized them.
But lack of sculpting materials hasn't stopped Iyad.
We have no confidence in the intentions of the other. We have no idea if there will be peace or not. Something your child is doing might inspire you. The look on people's faces, people you know, can be an inspiration. In this most recent period, I drew my inspiration from people's facial expressions. I drew the faces of students, older people, the garbage man. I watched them. I drew them, recorded their reaction to what was happening.
Iyad's psychological reaction to the siege of Gaza is reflected in his video art.
Now, in our next story, we go to the Muslim community in Kashgar in China, where one man is walking a fine line for his people.
I am Adi Li. I'm the 6th generation Dawaz performer in my family. I've been walking on the high wire for 30 years. I have broken Guinness World Records, the highest, the longest, and the fastest. I also once spent 25 days on the tightrope.
He's called the Prince of the Sky. Adili Wushor is the most famous tightrope walker in China. Adili has become the standard bearer of Dawaz, the traditional high wire acrobatics of the Uyghur people of Western China.
Dawaz has a history of more than 2,000 years. My family has been performing it for more than 450 years. Some of my ancestors performed before the Emperor Qianlong in the Forbidden City in Beijing.
Adi Li has taken this tradition literally to new altitudes. He's stood on his head 660 meters above a karst canyon in Sichuan and set a record for distance by crossing a wire 1,400 meters long.
Every time you go up the tightrope, there is a danger. How do you overcome this fear? You have to be calm and firm. Keep your balance at a high altitude, as if you are a hero, thinking, I can only succeed and cannot fail. If you think, I'm scared, I'm so high up, what if I fall? You won't be able to take even one step. You cannot succeed.
Adi Li hopes this year to set a new record with a walk across a 2,009-meter-long high wire. And he dreams of smashing even that record by crossing a tightrope in Sicily 3.5 kilometers long.
I have no intention to retire. If my body is still healthy, I can still go on the tightrope at 70 or 80. Now this burden is on me to pass it on to the next generation and continue to pass it on generation after generation. I'm supposed to pass it on to my daughters, but I hope that they won't learn this because it's too dangerous.
Taking the pressure off his three daughters, Adili focuses on training a new crop of Dawa students in the Xinjiang provincial capital, Urumqi. And he plans to break ground on a permanent tightrope walking school in his hometown near Kashgar. Some of his records may soon fall at the toes of his protege, Sattar, who at 19 has already set an endurance record of 200 hours on the tightrope. I like to walk on the tightrope since I was young, he says. I am very interested in this. I saw Adili walk on the high wire across the 3 gorges on TV. After that, I decided I must learn how to walk on the tightrope from Adili. So from 11, I came to learn from him how to walk on the high wire.
Some of my students have been awarded gold medals in international competition. They can do everything I teach them. After they graduate at the end of 6 years, they'll be able to drive, walk on the high wire better than me, perform Xinjiang dance and sing, and also perform acrobatics. The next generation that I'm training will definitely be better than mine.
But it will take no small feat to surpass Adili atop the wire in the sky.
Well, that's it from me, Maria Marquez, here in Colombia. Thanks for watching Art World, and remember, que les vaya muy bonito, which means in Spanish, stay well. Goodbye.